So I've decided I'm going to do a live video to demonstrate how professional dancers break in their pointe shoes. Now, every dancer breaks their pointe shoes in differently. They basically have to make the pointe shoe comfortable for their foot. So for those of you that don't know me, just before we get started, just so to give you a little bit about me, those of you that don't know who I am, my name's Donya. I run a ballet school in York. It's been running for about 3.5 years, and we have approximately 200 pupils. Now, because the school's quite young, we don't have many older students that use that go on to Pointe yet. In fact, currently we only have 4. To go on to Pointe, you need to have an awful lot of strength and security and ability in ballet. You can't just shove anybody up onto Pointe because obviously that's very dangerous. And it's not really based on age as to when a student can go onto Pointe. It's quite old-fashioned that they would set an age. Now it's about the ability and strength and maturity of the individual dancer's body. So I'm going to start off by just showing you this. This is the last pointe shoe that I wore when I performed for the Birmingham Royal Ballet. For the Birmingham Royal Ballet, I performed in Facade, and I also performed in the Nutcracker, the Birmingham Hippodrome. And these were the last shoes that I wore as part of the Birmingham Royal Ballet. If you look up the Birmingham Royal Ballet, you can find out all about them, but they are an amazing company with amazing dancers. And I was very privileged to be a part of that for my apprenticeship after leaving Elmhurst, which is in association with the Birmingham Royal Ballet. Oh, hello Leo. So, so that's the pointe shoe I wore. Now, back when I was training at Elmhurst and when I was doing performing, I would get through a pointe shoe a week, sometimes 2, because we were in them all day, every day. We would dance from about 8:30 till 6:30 on an evening, obviously with lunch breaks and things, but most of those classes at that professional level were in pointe shoes. So, here is an old shoe, and here's a brand new pair of shoes. So I thought for this live stream, I would show you how we break in pointe shoes. So, this is a brand new pair. So straight away you can see the difference between what a new pair looks like and an old pair looks like. So obviously this is the sole of the shoe here. This is the sole, clean, dirty. This part here, which is quite hard, is the box of the shoe. Now the box of the shoe has a length, and the length is called the vamp. And the vamp is always higher and harder than once it's been worn in. So you actually break down this part of the shoe so that it's soft. So you end up with a vamp actually that's only about that big, because you really only want the toes to be in the hardened box of the pointe shoe. You don't want the vamp too high, because then it restricts your demi-pointe, which is when you go up with your heels but leave your toes on the floor. So that's the difference of the vamp. And obviously you also have the platform, and the platform of the shoe is the part that you actually dance on. So here's a brand new pointe shoe, and here's an old pointe shoe, and you can see the difference in the platform. Now this part of the shoe goes soft with wear, and this obviously is a nice new one, it's nice and hard. Some dancers cut the satin off, some dancers darn the pointe shoe, and all those things are to help with friction on the floor. Even this one's even lost the sole on the inside because, I don't know, it probably started peeling off with my sweat, and so I just decided to pull it out. Now, inside a pointe shoe, you've got something called a shank, and the shank can be different strengths. The back of the shoe can be extra hard. Leo, don't eat my shoes. This is my chihuahua Leo, who likes to eat shoes. Say hi to everyone. Hello. can't go away because I'm trying to talk to people about pointe shoes. So what was I saying? Yeah, so this shoe obviously has been worn many years ago now, and this shoe is very flexible because it's been worn and it's been broken in. But this shoe, it's hard. Now that crunching that you can hear is not actually the shoe snapping or breaking, that is just simply the glue of all the layers that are stuck together breaking and cracking, so that the, oh hello, this is my cat Pepper. It's becoming a veterinary programme. I think they're just interested in my props down here. So when you start to bend the back of a shoe because you want to make it more malleable to the foot, you want to make it softer, you want to make it move with the foot, you don't want the foot to be restricted by the pointe shoe, you have to start to move the back, and that's when you can hear the cracking of the glue and the cracking of the glue and the kind of some parts, you know, coming apart. So if any of you, by the way, have any questions that you want to know about me, pointe shoes, ballet in general, the school, then just type the question in, you know, keep it as simple as you can, and if we're still streaming when your question comes through, then I can answer it for you as best as I can. So, I find this noise really satisfying. Can you hear that? And that's me breaking in the back of the shoe. By the way, there's quite a lot of rumour about what shoes are made from. Pointe shoes these days are made from different things, and the evolution of pointe shoes has changed. It used to be kind of like a resin and fabric, layers of fabric and paper and almost like cardboard, similar kind of materials, then covered with the satin. These days you can even get plastic, you know, hard solid plastic boxes of the shoe and shanks of the shoe, but obviously they're not kind of the traditional shoe, so I always stick with the more traditional shoe. I'm quite traditional. So, first thing you do, bend the back. We want to try and create a demi-pointe section. And you also want it to be flexible the other way for when we're standing on pointe. Gives a nicer line. This part of the shoe is quite hard, and you can just move with your thumb, you can just push and move all these bits in, give them a squidge, like that. Squidgy, squidgy, squidgy. That's it. Remember, if you've got any questions, you can just type them in. So, you can push this bit in, like this. That starts to lower the vamp. So this is the new shoe that I'm now wearing in, and you can see already that the vamp is a bit lower than this one. Can you see that? Yeah, there we go. And that's what we want. We don't want the foot restricted. So if my fingers are the toes, we don't want the vamp going so high that the foot can't bend. Yes, and move. So that's why we do that. Now, also, every shoe is different, every make is different. But this is obviously very wide, and your toes obviously don't fully use up that space. So it's a good idea to compress the box a little bit so that it fits better to your foot. Now, a properly fitted pointe shoe should fit you like a glove with just tape. Simple micropod that you just tape around each toe so that it's not creating a big thick layer on the pointe shoe, inside the pointe shoe, but it's just protecting your toes. And any pointe shoes that fit you properly shouldn't rub, shouldn't move. Obviously you're dancing on your feet, it is quite painful, but eventually you get used to it. Your toes get stronger, your metatarsals get stronger, the muscles and tendons in your feet get stronger, and so you get better at it. So I'm just going to put this shoe here on the floor. I don't know if you can see it. And I'm just going to squash. Might be able to hear some cracking. This part of the shoe. So that doesn't affect the platform, but it does create like a narrower box. So again, you can see the difference here in size. So I'm changing the shape of the shoe that I've bought to suit my individual foot needs, requirements, and comfort as well. All these things help increase the comfort. It's not a rock hard new shoe. It's like when you go on a night out and you get yourself a new pair of high heels. It's a good idea to walk around in them, do 10-minute walk here, 10-minute walk there, get used to them, because otherwise you go on a full-blown party, you go to a wedding, you wear them for 6 or 8 hours, you're going to get blisters. So sometimes I say to my students to just put them on, barefooted, walk around the house, because then if you walk around the house, you can just treat them like slippers, and the heat and a bit gross, the sweat from your feet helps to soften the shoe. To a certain extent, you want the pointe shoe softer, but really the bit that you want to keep hard, which you can keep hard using shellac, is the platform, because that at the end of the day is the bit we're going to be standing on. Now, I thought I'd get these to show you as well. Many dancers use these. These are called ouch pouches. Funny looking things. But basically, what's that here? It's like a little sock for your foot. Yes? And you can slip that on, and then slip the shoe on. And it's a very quick and easy way to create protection for your foot. So for a professional who needs to just slip their shoes on quick, it's a quick and easy thing to do. But for a young student who's starting out in pointe work, I would say it's very important that they have micropore, tape, maybe a little bit of cotton wool or something soft at the bottom, but not to coat the toes in something thick like an ouch pouch, which has actually got gel inside, because they need to be able to feel the shoe. Apparently we've got a question. Let's have a look what this question is. So, Dawn, would it depend on how experienced the dancer is on pointe as to how far we can break them in? The more you break a shoe in, the more you're technically destroying it, but the best thing to do when a child is or a student is starting out with pointe shoes, you want to just break it in a little bit, see how they feel. Then break it a bit more, try it, see how they feel. And for a student that only gets to do pointe maybe once a week, it would be good for them to maybe have a little practice of what they do in class at home, carefully holding on to something like a kitchen worktop or a banister or a sturdy chair, and just doing simple rises up onto pointe. So literally just standing and pushing the demi-pointe, so you're pushing here. Oh, can't see, chihuahua in the way. Go on Leo, out you go. And then pushing over. So you're just going through the shoe, because as I keep saying to my students, we want the shoe to be part of your foot and not the foot to be restricted by the shoe. Okay, now when it pops off, that's quite normal because it's a hard shoe, and that's what I'm going to come to about how you fix the pointe shoe to the ankle as well, to make that a little bit clearer. So you want to push here and then push over here as well. And a student that goes on to pointe, can you see, I don't know if my dog's in the way, I think my dog's in the way, isn't he? Leo, go on, go over there, go on, go over there. So with the pointe shoe, I think Leo's still in the way. So with a pointe shoe, you want to make sure that you are over the pointe shoe. You don't want to be here. That's a bad line, that's a restricted line. You want to make sure that you're fully over the shoe when you're standing up on pointe. Okay? There we go. And basically, when you're on pointe, that's what your toes are doing underneath. When a student learns to point their foot, they must have a long pointe. That means don't crunch up the toes, don't curl your toes up. Lengthen your toes and lengthen the ankle, because at the end of the day, eventually, hopefully one day they'll be standing on pointe. Yes? And you want to make sure that they're standing on pointe correctly with nice long toes. Okay, so that's an ouch pouch. I use these because it's nice and quick and simple for me to be able to slip on when I'm teaching pointe class, because I still teach pointe classes generally most of the time with pointe shoes on. But you know, you have to make sure that if you are going to use these, that the pointe shoe is fitted with these. But I recommend students don't use them so that they have more manipulation of their toes and feet in the shoe. Have we got any other questions? Let's have a look. No, that's okay, no more questions, right. I'm quite surprised actually that there's no more questions. If you have got a question, you can send in your questions. Okay, so as you saw when I was going onto pointe with my pointe shoe, it slipped off. That's because it hasn't been fitted properly to my foot. Now, pointe shoe ribbon. This is pointe shoe ribbon. It's quite thick. It's thicker than non-pointe shoe ribbon that you would wear for the higher grades in RAD ballet. It's also paler, so it blends nicer with the ballet types. There you go. That's fixed on either side inside the pointe shoe, like I did these ones many years ago. I don't know if you can see that. There we go. You might also be interested. Can you see that? That there? That's a nail. So that means that the shank and the sole of the shoe have been nailed together. Then, when you've got your ribbons on, if you wanted more support, especially to stop the back of the shoe slipping off, the heel of the shoe slipping off your foot when you're dancing, I do recommend a further support of some pointe shoe elastic. This is pointe shoe elastic. Okay, I mean you can just use normal elastic, but that's actually what pointe shoe elastic looks like. So if you're ever going to buy some, that's the kind of thing you're looking for. And it's quite stretchy. Yeah, can you see that? There we go. So, I think I've covered most things. I've told you about the formation of the shoe, the platform, the block, the vamp, the sole, the shank. So now you know all the points of the pointe shoe. I've shown you how we attach them with pointe shoe ribbon and pointe shoe elastic. I've explained to you that when the end gets soft, you can use shellac in the bottom to help it stay harder for longer. That's just like some resin liquid that you pour into the bottom, not much, and it just sets another hardened layer to make the pointe shoes last longer. And every pointe shoe is going to last each person a different amount of time. Some people who have very strong feet or hyper-mobile feet can break a pointe shoe. You can actually snap the back of the pointe shoe. So they might actually need to get more shoes more often. And some people, if they don't, if they've got a reasonably average foot with average strength and they maybe only just do a bit of pointe work once a week, they could probably get through a whole term with just one pair of pointe shoes. Have we got some more questions? How long does it take to get used to pointe shoes? So, Tegan, everyone's different. Some people, some students start point work and it doesn't hurt them at all. They really, they feel a bit of discomfort and don't feel any pain. Some students complain for a very long time that it hurts, but like I said earlier, wearing them around the house like a pair of slippers will help you get used to them and help the shoe mould to your foot and therefore create a little bit more comfort. But sometimes you can be fitted just simply the wrong shoe. It's just not the right shoe for you. So it may be that for point shoes you can shop in a different fitter, because everybody's feet are very different, and for point work where you are putting all your body weight on the end of your toes, you do want to be as comfortable as possible. So if I just quickly, I've done this one, that one. So again, that's just the glue. And you can push in the vamp. And squash the block a little bit. My two glamorous assistants, we have Leo the Chihuahua and Pepper the cat. So if I just slip these on for ease, the ouch pouches, which I really do only recommend you get once you're really secure in point and very comfortable with the make and design of shoe. And then this one. What do you think, Leo? Now, I'll just move you out the way. You have also got your cords, which can be pulled. Then they can be tucked inside the point shoe. That's it. And then when you're going up on point, you want to make sure that you're over in the shoe. When you're looking at a point shoe, you don't want too much extra gather at the back. And remember, the ribbon, the elastic you would tie here and go around from one side to the other side, tying it on the inside. Then of course you would have the ribbon on the inside of the shoe and that crosses over the ankle. So these shoes are brand new and will take plenty of time to wear in. But I'll have the pleasure of doing that next week at my first point class of the term with my lovely, beautiful 4 girls who do point work. Currently have Tegan, Evie, Chloe and Romy, and they're all doing a really great job at their point work. But I thought this would be interesting to do because then those of you that have either, some of you who are watching may have never seen point shoes. Some of you, may just be interested to see how someone else does it. Can you even see what I'm doing because of Leo? And I just thought you might like to know how I do it, how I break in my shoes. Pretty standard. So there we go. There's a lovely pair of point shoes. Yet to have elastics on, yet to have ribbons on, and still in need of quite a bit of breaking in. You can be quite rough with point shoes as well. The other thing you can do, point shoes are quite noisy. If you put something protective on them like a sock, you can just take them outside onto quite a smooth surface on a hard floor and just tap them, and it just bashes the noise out of them. Because when you're running around stage, you don't want to sound like a big heavy elephant. You want to make it look like you're just floating along and it all looks really magical. But you can't do that with a noisy point shoe. So believe it or not, hitting actually gets noise out of point shoes. So yeah. We got another question. So Norma, is there an age limit to do point? Even wants to try. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, yes, Eva's too young, but it is mainly based on ability and technique. Some very, very talented, you know, young, strong and secure students could start pointe work at maybe 9 or 10. Most students will probably start at, I don't know, you know, 11, but it doesn't really go on age. Some students may not be ready until they're 15, 16, and obviously at that point, you know, you're almost a fully grown adult. But it isn't so much about the age that you are, it's what your body is like, what your security is like, what your technique is like, and what your ability is like. So I very much look at the security and ability of the dancer rather than how old they are, within reason. So yeah, to answer Norma's question, they do need to be a certain age, but it'll depend when they get to kind of 10 years old. It might be that they're not quite strong enough yet. And that's no, you know, failure. Everybody's body develops and grows and matures at different times. And, you know, sometimes growth spurts as well. They kind of stretch out the muscles and make everything really tight. So they could have really built up loads of strength, and then they go and have a big growth spurt and they kind of lose everything again and they go a bit Bambi on ice. So it sometimes takes time, if you've had a growth spurt, to build up strength again, core strength, leg strength. So Evie wants to know, when you were training, did you have elastic on your shoes? If not, did you have it when you were first learning, and when did you take it off? No, when I first started pointe work, I started pointe work very young. I started pointe work at the age of 9. Back then they did not have ouch pouches, toe spacers or anything special. It was literally just micropore and sheep's wool. Pointe shoes obviously as well probably weren't as good as they are now, and there probably wasn't the variety of makes and sizes, so they probably didn't fit as well as they do now. But no, I did not have elastic. I only had ribbon. Elastic I think came in a little bit after I started my training, and it is a good extra aid to help the shoe feel more secure on your foot. And it's by no means a cheat, so I think it's a good thing to have because it helps keep the shoe attached to your foot. So I think that's everything. So there's Miss Donya's Birmingham Royal Ballet shoe, worn many years ago for my dances at the Birmingham Hippodrome with the BRB. And here's my new pair of shoes that I still need to squish up, mush up, bend and twist to make a little bit more comfortable for starting classes next week. And if anybody out there is interested in beginner's pointe class, or wants to know a little bit more about pointe work or anything like that, you can always send me an email or get in touch with me on Facebook. So, what? I'm sorry. Right, okay, so that's it. I hope you've enjoyed finding out about pointe shoes, and if you've got any other questions or anything, then you can just comment and message below. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch me. Bye.